that we've just lost the knowledge of how to do this? Because, all of us we're in our 30s. We grew up kind of in the, at the end of the Cold War. We were in elementary school when the Soviet Union collapsed. So if a lot of people who are working in the US government are our age or a decade older, we don't have any experience with this kind of Cold War political warfare. Do you think that we've lost the knowledge, or do you think that ideologically this is something that the US government doesn't want to do?
The knowledge is there. It's not hard to understand. This isn't like trying to figure out how to play the piano. It's not complicated, and it has a lot of relationships to things like marketing and public relations, public affairs, which America excels at. So it's not that complicated, but I think that you're right. That's a good point, that if you grew up after the Soviet Union fell, well, why would we need to do this sort of stuff? Because we are America won. We're the biggest power now, and nobody can challenge us. So I think it was thought not to be necessary, I think, like you've pointed out. And, when guys like me talk about it, it's almost, it'd be like when I was young, some guy talking about the Spanish-American War. I get it. But so it is, there's a historical challenge here. But nonetheless, it's not that hard to figure out if we chose to do it. And there's a sense in the foreign policy class that, well, gentlemen don't do political warfare. That's propaganda, that's lying, and it's none of the above. But there is a sense that it's unseemly. And it also requires a little effort and some thought, and that tends to put off a certain type of foreign service officer. Well, they won't appreciate hearing that.
I don't think they listen to this podcast, so you're safe.
That's true. Well, I think the other side of what you're just saying, besides the idea that America won, it's kind of what we were touching on, this perception warfare, where I think a lot of Americans do view, the U.S. as, the bad country, the one that is undermining other countries, using the CIA and China, whatever. And so that if there's no political will in the population of the United States, that's going to lead to a government that doesn't have any interest in that as well.
Well, that's right. I think, because, people like me, at least, and I expect you all, we sort of live and breathe foreign affairs. Most people don't.
Really?
I reliably told that, but I'm also, there's a sense, and it's been around, I can remember it from, my college days, that America is the problem. America is the bad country. And if we just do, if we don't frighten people, if we don't do anything that people who hate America don't want us to do, everything will be okay. And they say that's been around a long time. So it's still with us, and that is a challenge. That too is another reason for our sort of handcuffing ourselves when it comes to sort of bolstering our defenses and propping up people who want to be free.
So what can we do?
Well, maybe study a little history would be quick history, and go back and figure out to when we used to do political warfare, and give it a try. Start teaching the thing, start teaching it, say at the Foreign Service Institute. Make it a priority for us. And you really have to just go back to the 80s, and you can get some pretty good idea of how we used to do this thing, this very well. And once again, towards the Soviet Union. But also, you've got to have some sense that what we have in the United States is worth defending, and it's worth defending around the world as well. But that's just the political warfare end of it. And there's also a military component, economic, financial, etc. And you've got to get all of these things firing at the same time.
Well, I think that basically wraps it up for today. Thanks for joining us, Grant. That was, other than the advice that we have to learn from history, I don't think people are really going to do that. Crack open a book.
Well, what if there were videos about history that people could watch?
Are you making a plug for our soon-to-be history channel?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thanks, Shelley. All right, so we found the answer. We will take. Don't worry, Grant.
We've got this.
We're gonna take care of it. We'll save the world. 3 people on YouTube. I will not rest well. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on, Grant. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Well, I was glad to be here, and assume I offended most of your listeners. But no, I just sort of let it rip and try to offer some ideas. And at this time of day, I've sort of haven't burned off enough of my resentments, but now I have. So I'll be cheerful from now on.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're helping people become joyful.
Yeah, there we go.
Great. We'll talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Okay.
So I was a little distracted in the beginning when you said that China wanted to be the global hegemon of Asia.
Yes, that makes sense.
How can you be the global hegemon of Asia?
It's what I was saying was in the whole world of the countries that will be the hegemon of Asia, China will be that one. Okay. Therefore, China is the global hegemon of Asia. Keep up, Shelley.
There's always a justification.
Accuracy ninja has been blocked.
With more accuracy, hyper accuracy. Well, that was a very interesting discussion. Yeah, you really see just what a complicated game the Chinese Communist Party is playing in terms of influence operations around the world with a very cohesive global strategy. And the U.S. is just not there.
I don't know if it's cohesive so much as it's kind of like what Grant was saying about betting on all the horses.
Well, I think there is a general clear goal, which is to be the global hegemon of Asia and to kick out U.S. influence. Yeah,
but they're doing it it's kind of like throwing everything on the wall and seeing what sticks, right? But, unfortunately, as most people in the world live in authoritarian countries, there's a lot of countries that are willing to play ball with the Chinese Communist Party.
Right. And does that mean that we have to play ball with those authoritarian countries to at least, protect them and ourselves against the Communist Party's interests?
I mean, it seems like it's not even an issue of like, oh, the U.S. has to work with dictators to counter China. There's just a million things the U.S. could be doing.
Right.
I mean, let's start off by working with other liberal democracies.
Well, let's have an embassy in the Solomon Islands.
I was thinking about this because that the U.S., like, what was our like financial crisis bailout in 2008? It was something on the neighborhood of like, what, $700 billion or something, right? No bureaucracy, no PowerPoint slides, just like,
here's the money.
Here's the money, and it all goes to banks, right? And it's like what these countries need. It's like $100 million each to a year, let's say, to 10 countries is $1 billion a year, right? That's going to last us 500 years. Like it's so little money to do so much, to have these friends, and if we could get more countries under the COFA agreement, the Compact on Free Association, where like we get a base. And
although Palau offered us a base and we're apparently not taking them up on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Because the next administration there might decide, well, if the U.S. doesn't want a base, maybe we'll ask someone else, and that someone else is inevitably going to be, China. So
I don't think that's going to happen with Palau. But
well, maybe not Palau, but like that's the pattern. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. I'm just a little upset about how money gets allocated in this country.
I don't agree to that.
What?
I just wanted to be contrary.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think Grant made a good point that it is like an issue of like, Americans care about their dental plan. They like giving $100 million to a country to an island they've never heard of. It's a hard sell.
Well, I mean, I think most people don't actually know how much money the U.S. spends around the world, like with U.S. aid programs.
That's definitely true, but yeah, it is an issue of like people don't understand how important a place like the Solomon Islands is to the U.S. It's easier to focus on like, oh well, like I don't want to pay for dental, right?
Well, I mean, all politics is domestic, right? So when people run for president, they're always talking about things domestic policy, even though what the president really has power over is foreign policy.
You make an interesting point. All politics is domestic. So even if somebody wanted to be the hegemon of Asia, it's the global
What?
affair.
What?
I don't understand at all
What?
what you're saying.
I feel like that
I
you
lost that
just
one.
lost it at the end.
All right, I should have switched it around. So even if somebody wants to be a global hegemon, everything is local. So it begins in Asia. Global hegemon of Asia.
Yeah,
That's,
that-
I guess,
that doesn't-
I better. I don't know.
I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. But you know what, Chris? I'm going to defer to you on this one.
Well, thank you. I don't disagree with that.
Let's just end the podcast, guys.
I think we're onto something. This is a fruitful mine of ideas.
Yeah, we're on to something.
Maybe let's make a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I think let's do that.
Yeah.
That's the solution. You know, Matt, you're good at PowerPoint presentations. Maybe you should start teaching this stuff to
The U.S. military? I think I'm going to
military.
pass on that.
Hey, you can't spell the U.S. without us.
There you go.
Thanks for watching China Unscripted.